Okay, today we're doing our first oil change on our 2016 GSX-S1000. I got all my tools laid out here. You're going to need a 5mm hex head. T-handle works pretty good. That's to remove the lower fairing there. Got a couple of flat tip screwdrivers to split the fairing so we don't have to take the other side off and remove the reservoir tank for the coolant. You're also going to need a 17mm wrench, 17mm socket. Got our torque wrench, an oil filter wrench, manual, some aluminum foil. I'll explain what we're going to use that for later. Got a couple rags, got an oil drain pan, funnel, new filter, and oil. So first things first, you always want to have a nice warm engine before you start, so let's warm it up. Okay, I took her for a spin. She's good and warm now. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 5mm hex head and we're going to remove this bolt right here. You got another one on the back right here. Then we're going to take our flathead screwdriver. This is just like your same retainer you have on a lot of cars for the plastic fender wells. You'll just pop that up, that whole thing will pull out, and then hopefully we'll be able to remove this whole lower left side fairing. Okay, there we go. We got our fairing removed. This is actually pretty slick. They finally got smart and put some nice thick rubber grommets on the fairings rather than just leaving the bolts in there so it chew up the plastic. And removed our tab on the front. Now there's two little holes, if you can see them right there on that middle piece, and they just slide right into there on the inside of the fairing, so it just takes a little bit of finagling, get it off. Just be careful you don't drag the bottom end of the fairing on the driveway as you're removing that piece. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to loosen the oil fill plug, which is on the right side of the motor right there, and take our 17mm wrench and we're going to remove the oil drain plug, which is right there. So I just pulled our drain plug off and I'll let the oil drain out. So I want to take a look, just looking for a significant metal. You can also look on the drain plug itself. There's a magnet here on the bottom, so you want to take a close look at that, make sure there's no real big metal pieces, but so far so good. Well, before I started, I forgot there's one thing you never want to start a job like this until you have one other thing, and that's a nice cold beer. Okay, our oil has slowed down to a trickle, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that aluminum foil. All I did is just took aluminum foil from the fridge and double it over itself or triple itself. And then I'm going to lay it right over the header pipes, because something that always bugs the shit out of me is when you change the oil filter on one of these sport bikes, you always get oil all over the pipes and it makes a mess and it smells when you first start the bike up for the first couple miles while it's burning it off. So I'm just going to lay that aluminum foil underneath the oil filter. I'm going to take the oil filter wrench and take the old filter off. Alright, I had to pull a quick audible. The oil filter wrench I had wouldn't fit in between the headers, so picked this up I think at Napa maybe. A couple bucks, but it's adjustable. Any oil filter that has the grooves at the end of it, this is adjustable, so it'll grab. So I'm going to throw that in there and take the oil filter off. Okay, so all I did is I put our little adjustable oil filter wrench on the back of the oil filter right there. Then I poked a hole right through the aluminum foil, a little extension and a ratchet on the back side. Worked like a charm. I'm going to pull that the rest of the way off now that it's loose. Okay, we got the oil filter off. Kind of want to do the same thing you did with the drain plug. You want to tip it right on its end, but while you're doing it, you want to watch the oil that's coming out of it, just looking for any real big metal pieces. This looked pretty good. There were a couple small little shavings, real small. Nothing to be concerned about, but that's why we're doing our oil change. And I did mine, I think the manual says it's 600 miles. I decided to do mine a little early I'm gonna put Spectro 4, just traditional engine oil in it. I'm gonna run that for another 500 miles, and then I'm gonna switch to a semi-synthetic, and then in a couple thousand miles I'll switch to full synthetic once it's fully broken in. No right or wrong. I mean, you ask 10 different people, you're gonna get 10 different answers. I read that in a couple different forums, and also from some motorcycle magazines, so that's what I'm gonna go with. I don't know, if anybody's got a better suggestion, let me know. Okay, as I said, I'm going to use Spectro 4. I'm going to use just 10W40. That's what the manual recommends. And I'm in upstate New York, so don't ever get too terribly warm up here. I suppose if we had a real hot summer, I might bump it up, but 1040 I think is pretty standard. K&N on their website doesn't say that they have a filter available yet. I've read in a couple different places that the KN 138 fits the GSX-S1000 engine, which this is. So we're going to go ahead and I guess we'll find out here in a minute if it's going to fit or not. Something I was hearing though, they like you to torque these right up, and guys are having trouble getting them back off. I've seen a couple pictures where taking this off, they're taking this whole piece right off of the filter when they're trying to back this off. Suzuki says to install the filter to contact and then 2 full turns, and that's pretty damn tight. So what they recommended was taking the gasket right off of the filter, lubing both sides of it up good, and then installing it. So we'll see what happens. Okay, I got both sides of the gasket lubed up good, so now it's kind of free floating on there. Do be careful if you pop that out. The bottom side, it's not the same on both sides. The bottom side has a lip on it, so make sure it goes on the same way you take it off. And you might need to kind of rotate the gasket as you're putting it back on, because there's this inside lip on the filter, just to make sure that lip gets back underneath there and seats good. So it's going back on. Okay, so we pulled our aluminum foil out, not a drop on the headers. I got the oil filter tightened about 1 full turn from contact right now. It's pretty tight. I'm going to give it 1 more snug. Then we're going to go ahead and put our oil drain plug back in and button back up, because we're just about done. Okay, Suzuki says 23 Newton meters to torque this to. So we're just going to torque it till it clicks, hopefully. There we go. So that's torqued up. Our oil filter's on and tight. So I'm just going to take a rag, wipe down real quick, put our fairing back on. And that's pretty much it. Pretty easy. Trying to think if there's anything I missed along the way. I don't think so. Okay, we're ready for some new oil. I got the oil filter about 1.25 turns, and that sucker is tight. I'm not gonna put a wrench on it and try and get it any tighter. I never use a tool on it, always use my hand. So if that's as tight as I can get it, that's about as tight as it's gonna go before something starts, threads start coming out. So I'm gonna go ahead and add oil now, 3.4 US quarts with an oil filter change. So here we go. Okay, went ahead and added oil, then ran it for 3 minutes, let it cool for 3 minutes, checked the oil, it was out of the sight glass, so topped it off. I repeated the process and be all good now. An easy way to do this if you don't have anybody with you to hold the bike level is just to lay a level right across the top of the gas tank, right on the gas tank gas cap itself. and center that up, and then you can get a good shot down here to make sure you got enough oil in there. I forget how finicky these sport bikes are, but you really gotta get just the right amount of oil in them to make sure you're good to go. So that's it, man. It took a little bit longer than anticipated with kids, but stuff happens. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw the side fairing back on, and that's a wrap.